Welcome to Epic Geek Out, the only show on the internet where the boulder actually crushes indie. I'm your host, Rob.
And I'm Chad, and today we're going to be talking about the new movie from Disney, John Carter.
Like always, please send us your feedback at fans@epicgeekout.com. Keep the mail coming in. We appreciate any critiques, any opinions you guys might have that would help us make the show get better.
Yes, and also check us out on Twitter at Epic Geek Out. And also, we got a Facebook page, so like us on there, because we like being liked. And you can find that, just search for Epic Geek Out on Facebook. Also, check out our website, epicgeekout.com. And we're going to be posting some more news on there. Right now, there's just the episodes, but just check us out over there. We'll appreciate it. And let's just get into the movie review.
We just got back from seeing Disney's new movie, John Carter. It stars Taylor Kitsch. You may know him from X-Men and Wolverines. He played Gambit in that movie, Friday Night Lights, which Chad has been Chad has been telling me to watch. It's on my Netflix queue to watch. It's Andrew Stanton's first live-action movie of Pixar fame. Directed such movies as Finding Nemo and WALL-E for Pixar. It's a sci-fi epic. Just a brief little backstory. It's a Confederate soldier gets transported to Mars, and he has to save the day.
That's
based
it
on a
in
book.
a
nutshell. Yeah, it's based on a book. There was a lot of talk before it came out. They even threw it into their marketing that this was the precursor to Star Wars and Avatar, and they really mentioned some bold statements by the marketing team to get some interest peaked for it. So, Chad, what did you think of the movie?
All right, well, pretty low expectations going into it. Both of us had, and saw the first 11 minutes last week when they released it, so it gave me a little hope for it. I was excited.
The humor in the first 11 minutes was pretty good.
And the first 11 minutes were when he was on Earth still, so I couldn't, it was not good, in my opinion. It's too much to get through. It was definitely marketed as an action-adventure story. I figured towards kids because Disney was, playing that off as a sort of the kids' epic. Obviously, sure. Star Wars, Avatar, sort of kids' movies.
Yeah, kids' movies where babies get killed and people get beheaded. Very kid-oriented.
Well, it was, I think even more so than that, it was such a dense story. It was huge sci-fi. Like, sci-fi even beyond what, like, it wasn't a mainstream sci-fi movie. It was very thick with names and
you had to learn a lot of names really quickly.
Yeah, and it was just, there wasn't really any point in the movie where there was any exposition given that wasn't spoken. It was all kind of just them talking, a lot of scenes.
A lot of talking.
And for all the action that was in it, that I thought out of everything.
First, a lot of talking in a different language, and then, amazingly, we can understand it.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird plot things that I didn't really agree with or understand. But it was just very thick and a lot to get through. And the action that was there, I thought was decent. Yeah. The CG was a lot better than what I anticipated it being. The aliens that you see in a lot of the commercials didn't look comical to me as much as I thought they would. I kind of bought into them a little bit, but not a whole lot of action throughout the movie for how long it was. In my opinion, they could have put more of that in, just because the dialogue was so bad. Like, they wrote it, it was just not, it wasn't well written at all. Acting wasn't outstanding. It's very cheesy, but not in a good way. Not in a good cheesy, because they weren't
going for a campy, cheesy feel.
Right. They tried to be serious, and it failed, in my opinion. And there's a lot of motivations that I didn't really understand throughout it, like character motivations. They didn't set that up well, in my opinion. It just fell apart for me in a lot of places, and there was a little bit to like with some of the humor, some of the action, but just overall, I was bored, and I was fidgeting in my seat and just wanted to leave, to be honest. So that's how I felt. But, I mean, I know you're similar, but...
Similar. I think 8-year-old Rob would have loved it. I actually was pretty excited to hear that it was very plot-driven, very character-orientated. That's great in a sci-fi world. I'm not looking just to have sci-fi to be sci-fi. I want there to be characters behind it, people I could root for. This one... Not really any of that. It was, the humor interjected throughout was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't good, but it at least...
wasn't great, for sure.
It was at least something that brought you out of the crap dialogue of the movie. That, some of it was physical, some of it, when they went to the wrong place. You got to chuckle. I mean, it was only in there to serve for a laugh, and
Right.
you know, really no other reason.
Right.
The dog-ish monster character, I enjoyed his interactions with that. But besides that, I mean, some of the action scenes when he's taking on a whole army was pretty cool kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing that, they didn't reinvent the wheel by any stretch of the imagination. It's been done before, we've seen it before, and we've seen it before better. I don't know if he was really the best star for it. I wasn't too convinced as him,
Yeah.
you know, really taking over. I mean,
He didn't really carry it well, I didn't think.
and everything, you know, that they had to explain was explained just, oh yeah, Mars has an atmosphere.
Yeah.
You didn't know that, but yeah,
it's
it does.
true.
It does.
And there weren't like there were some rules, but not really. Like yes, okay, I bought into like, okay, so he's from Earth, obviously he's used to gravity, goes to Mars, he can jump. No one else can jump in Mars because they're not used to that.
But not only that, he can jump sometimes, and then other times he's just chilling, walking, like he has complete control.
Right, exactly. And he didn't when he first got to Mars, they kind of showed him fumbling around. He couldn't
And that was
really
a pretty
walk,
good scene,
which
I
was
thought.
interesting.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, he was just cool. He's walking.
He's just walking,
He didn't
and then
really
sometimes
practice.
he'd punch a guy, he'd be dead. Other
Oh, right,
times,
yeah.
one dude
well, they
could
hinted at that
overpower him.
once, and then really that was it.
Yeah, I mean, he had powers sometimes, he didn't have powers other
then
times.
later
he
the
was
one guy
tethered
could
up,
just-
broke the
Yeah.
tether every time. I mean, that's not, yeah, I mean, it's, I
Yeah,
guess, a
there was-
spoiler, but it just, it created a universe and then just was like, we don't really care about that because he has to do
It
this
didn't really
thing.
put a whole lot of thought behind the universe. I mean, they could have gone a lot of different places with that, with the rules of his physicality on Mars.
And also,
And it was just like he could jump. I mean, really, and he'd punch people.
and the motivation of the characters. I mean, we're transported, like the war was already going on for a long time, so there's
Right.
already like tension between the two.
And how he
it's
just was good with a sword. I mean, he's a Confederate soldier, but he was just good with a sword.
They said in the beginning to set him up as a born fighter. When Bryan Cranston's character was reading to him after he broke out a couple times, you've earned 6 medals of commendation. You're a swordsman. You're doing this. You're a natural born fighter, which is supposed to make us believe that he could, be transported to Mars and just kick some butt.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. Kids might love it, but
there was a
I would warn against the violence of it. I mean,
there was very
just because they have
for
blue
PG-13.
blue blood, bucket of blue blood. Just because they have blue blood doesn't take the fact that they're getting cut open. Or
and there was
heads
a
are
really
rolling,
forced love story as well.
Yeah.
Which I was like, well, they were right about came before Star Wars because it was as good as a love story as the first 3 episodes, or episode 1, 2, and 3 had. But the one thing that I actually really did like about it was the score.
previews before?
The score was good.
Okay.
I thought it was a very good score, and it's Michael Giacchino from Lost, who does all the J.J. Abrams stuff. And I thought the score was good. It was pretty epic.
I didn't even notice
it. Had like
it.
a Western tinge to it, which was neat because obviously it started in the West. And it was kind of like the West on Mars, so I thought that was neat. But overall, just...
Maybe on DVD, check it out. Redbox it for $1.20 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Rotten Tomatoes wasn't rating it high, and now I understand.
Well, it was fresh, and then it kept going down from there. But so I would say definitely wait for DVD for this. There's no point in spending $11.50 for a movie ticket.
And over 2 hours worth of time. It's long.
It's
and it
not
feels
short.
long.
It does. I like long movies. You get more bang for your buck. I think if a movie can be good and it's 2.5 hours, I wouldn't mind it being 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't mind if this was 90 minutes long.
Exactly.
And
it was just
was a lot less talking in between. The one just really funny. They go to this one part and they have an overhead shot and it just looks like the Millennium Falcon they're walking into. It was just odd. Really but I mean, I don't know. Wait for DVD.
And it was also like I get that it was Mars and it's kind of like a desolate scenery, but it just was like more of the same every time they showed wide shots. He didn't eat.
It was like an episode of 24. He didn't eat,
but he's on Mars. So
I guess he didn't need to eat on Mars. If we sat down and talked, I'm sure we could pick out 1,000 holes. And thank God we didn't do this. Thank God there wasn't that much time before we shot this, because I'm sure we're gonna hate it more and more as the time goes on. So I would say wait for DVD. What do you think?
I think definitely DVD and possibly just maybe HBO. If you're bored and there's nothing on.
True. And now it's time for us to give thanks again. So Chad, what are you thankful for today?
Today I've decided to give thanks to serialized television shows.
As a whole.
As a whole. As
You would like to
all
thank TV.
around. Yes. Thank you, TV, for being on my television. But I really dig serialized TV. I can't even really get into sitcoms anymore. I know that you disagree because you watch a lot of sitcoms. But I don't know. I like an overarching story. And we saw the second episode of Awake, which was holy shit balls awesome. It was awesome. And it's very...
We literally texted,
Yeah.
what? You know, about 80 A's to each other at the same time.
There's a lot more to the show than we even knew in the first episode. And so excited. And we'll definitely be talking about that more in the future. So
yeah,
excited. Thank you, serialized television.
Well, I'm going to thank one show in particular. I would like to thank, and I'm really looking forward to Community coming back on air. Just think it's a good show. It does not appeal to everyone, but I really find it humorous. I think the characters have all really caught their stride. It's great to see Chevy Chase on TV, and it's good. I'm happy. I'm thinking it's not going to get renewed for another season, but I'm happy that they're letting it play out for this season, and maybe something like Netflix could pick it up, like they picked up the new Arrested Development that's supposed to take into effect, which is another show.
Terra Nova.
And possibly, which they could keep, and hopefully it gets burnt. But I would like to give my thanks out to Community.
Yeah, so thanks for watching this episode. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about some of the Apple announcements from last week. And leave us a message on our Facebook page, Epic Geek Out. Follow us on Twitter at Epic Geek Out. Also, email us any suggestions, feedback, fans@epicgeekout.com. And until next time, have a very geeky week.